A subtle but significant change is unfolding, almost imperceptible at first glance, yet unmistakable to those who know this place well. The world's longest border, stretching over 8,800 kilometers between Canada and the United States, has long been a symbol of openness and ease. A line on the map that, for decades, felt more like a gentle suggestion than a hard boundary. Along this vast, mostly undefended border, forests, rivers, and open fields have quietly witnessed the comings and goings of millions. For generations, the border was a place where families, friends, and businesses moved freely, often without a second thought. Canadians have long viewed the US as a familiar neighbor, a go-to for shopping sprees, family vacations, or winter escapes to sunnier states. Crossing the border was almost a rite of passage, a routine part of life for many living near the 49th parallel. But now, this easy cross-border movement is quietly fading. The once bustling border crossings, where lines of cars and eager travelers were a daily sight, are now often eerily quiet, especially in smaller towns that once thrived on cross-border traffic. Recent trends show a sustained decline in Canadian travel to the US, not just a temporary dip caused by a single event. The numbers have been dropping year after year, and the impact is being felt on both sides of the border. The once familiar sight of Canadian license plates in US border towns is becoming rare. Local businesses that once relied on Canadian shoppers and tourists are struggling, and the sense of cross-border community is slowly eroding. Shop owners and workers in these towns speak of quieter days, fewer customers, and a growing uncertainty about the future. For some, the decline means cutting hours or even closing up shop for good. Economic pressures, shifting political sentiments, and a sense of unease are reshaping old habits. The exchange rate, rising costs, and new regulations have all played a part, but so too has a changing sense of identity and belonging. Canadians are making different choices about where to spend their time and money. More are choosing to support local businesses, explore their own country, and invest in their own communities, rather than looking south for deals or adventure. This shift is changing the rhythm of life in border regions, as families create new traditions and memories closer to home. This isn't just about tourism numbers, it's about a changing relationship. The easy camaraderie and casual visits that once defined the border are giving way to something more cautious, more measured. The steady flow of travelers that once defined the 49th parallel can no longer be taken for granted. The border, once a symbol of friendship and openness, now feels a little more distant, a little more uncertain. A new chapter in cross-border relations is being written, one quiet decision at a time. As the world changes, so too does the meaning of this long-storied border, reminding us that even the most familiar lines can shift in unexpected ways. The numbers confirm what many have sensed: Canadian travel to the US is in sharp decline. Year over year, trips have dropped by over 26%, with 2.3 million fewer journeys. Car travel, once the backbone of cross-border visits, has plummeted by more than 30%. Those quick shopping or dining trips are vanishing. Even air travel is down by over 15%, affecting both short getaways and longer vacations. This isn't limited to one type of traveler, it's a widespread shift. Each decision to stay home or travel elsewhere is reshaping the once robust flow of visitors. Canadians are voting with their feet, by staying put or heading overseas. For many Canadians, the decision to skip the US comes down to dollars and cents. What used to be a simple weekend getaway, or a spontaneous shopping trip across the border, has become a careful calculation. The value of the Canadian dollar compared to its American counterpart is more than just a number. It's a daily reality that shapes travel plans, family budgets, and even dreams of adventure. The weak Canadian dollar makes every US purchase, from gas to hotels, feel expensive. Even a simple meal or a tank of gas can cost significantly more than it would at home. For travelers, the sticker shock is real, and it's not just about luxury items. Everyday expenses add up quickly. A family vacation now comes with a 25–30% premium, turning what used to be affordable getaways into costly ventures. The extra costs aren't just a minor inconvenience, they can mean the difference between taking a trip and staying home. For many, the dream of a cross-border adventure is replaced by the reality of stretching every dollar. Middle-class families, once the backbone of cross-border tourism, are feeling the squeeze. These are the families who used to fill hotels, restaurants, and shopping malls across the border. Now, they're weighing every decision, wondering if the experience is worth the extra cost. Economic uncertainty and trade tensions add to the caution, making Canadians think twice about discretionary spending. With inflation and rising costs at home, every dollar counts more than ever. The uncertainty in global markets and ongoing trade disputes only add to the hesitation. The US, once a convenient destination, now feels financially burdensome. What was once a quick escape or a shopping spree is now a source of stress and second-guessing. The excitement of travel is tempered by the reality of exchange rates and added expenses. Every transaction is a reminder of the poor exchange rate. Whether it's booking a hotel, paying for dinner, or even buying souvenirs, Canadians are constantly reminded that their money doesn't go as far as it used to. The difference adds up, and it's impossible to ignore. The result? Canadians are re-evaluating where their money goes. Many are choosing to explore their own country, seeking out local adventures and experiences that offer better value. The shift isn't just about saving money, it's about making smarter choices in uncertain times. Increasingly, the answer isn't the United States. For now, the tale of $2 is shaping not just travel plans, but the very way Canadians think about where and how they spend their hard-earned money. Economics aren't the only factor shaping travel decisions between Canada and the United States. Politics play a big role too. In recent years, the relationship between the two countries has become more complicated, and that complexity is felt by everyday travelers. Political tensions, and shifting rhetoric have all contributed to a sense of unease that goes beyond dollars and cents. Many Canadians now feel unwelcome or even anxious about visiting the US, largely due to the tone of American political discourse and unpredictable policy shifts. News stories about travel bans, immigration crackdowns, and heated debates over border security have made headlines in Canada, fueling a perception that the US is less open and less friendly than it once was. Conversations over coffee often turn to whether it's worth the risk or hassle to cross the border at all. Trade disputes and tariffs have only added to the tension, souring public opinion, and making the idea of travel feel less inviting. Headlines about new tariffs or diplomatic spats remind Canadians that the relationship is strained, and that strain is felt at the border, where crossings that were once bustling are now noticeably quieter. For some Canadians, skipping a trip to the US has become a quiet form of protest, a personal way to register disapproval with the current political climate. Instead of planning shopping trips or vacations south of the border, families are choosing to explore destinations within Canada, supporting local tourism and avoiding the uncertainty that comes with US travel. The goodwill and sense of camaraderie that was built over decades of close ties now feels threatened. Where there was once excitement about cross-border adventures, there's now hesitation and a sense of loss. The desire to visit the US has cooled, replaced by nostalgia for a time when the border felt more like a friendly gateway than a barrier. Combined with economic pressures like a weaker Canadian dollar and rising travel costs, these political and social factors create a perfect storm of negative sentiment. Travel agencies that once specialized in US trips are seeing fewer bookings, and airports that used to be filled with eager travelers now have empty departure halls. For many, the US no longer feels like the familiar neighbor it once was. The welcoming signs at the border seem faded, and the streets of border towns are quieter than ever. The sense of connection that once defined the relationship is slipping away. This shift in perception is more than just a temporary reaction. It's a powerful barrier that's reshaping travel habits for an entire generation of Canadians. As fewer people make the journey south, the divide grows, and the impact on both countries' cultures and economies becomes even more pronounced. Canadians aren't just staying home, they're looking further afield. While US trips decline, travel to Europe, Asia, and Latin America is on the rise. The Canadian dollar often goes further in these destinations, and new experiences beckon. Affordable international flights and more direct routes make overseas travel easier than ever. Canadians are developing new travel habits, exploring beyond the US. The US may always be close, but it's no longer the automatic choice. This diversification could reshape Canadian travel for years to come. The drop in Canadian visitors is hitting US border towns hard. Local economies in places like Buffalo and Plattsburgh relied on Canadian shoppers for decades. Now businesses face falling sales, layoffs, and empty hotels. The ripple effect is felt everywhere, from retail to restaurants to city services. Some towns are scrambling to attract American customers, but it's tough to replace lost Canadian spending. The economic pain is real, showing just how interconnected the two countries are. Quiet decisions north of the border are causing hardship hundreds of kilometers away. Interestingly, this travel slowdown is mostly one way. While Canadians are staying home, Americans are still coming north, and even increasing their visits. The strong US dollar makes Canada a bargain for American tourists. Political tensions that deter Canadians don't seem to bother Americans. Canada's reputation for safety and hospitality remains strong in the US. The result is an imbalanced flow. US border towns suffer, while Canadian tourism benefits. The shift is driven by uniquely Canadian concerns. The once balanced travel corridor is now a one-way street. This isn't an organized boycott. It's a quiet, personal shift in millions of Canadian households. The US is no longer the default destination. Canadians are exploring new options. These new travel habits may be hard to reverse, even if politics and economics improve. The flow of people across the border is a barometer of the relationship's health. Rebuilding trust will take more than a better exchange rate. It'll require renewed partnership and respect. If current trends persist, Canadians will keep looking elsewhere. If the relationship heals, some may return, but the memory of this shift will linger. This moment could redefine the story of two neighboring nations.